Welcome to a journey through alternate history, where we explore one of the most fascinating what-ifs of the 20th century. December 7th, 1941. A day that changed America forever as Pearl Harbor came under devastating attack. Over 2,000 Americans lost their lives as the battleship Arizona sank beneath the waves of the Pacific. But in our alternate timeline, a very different leader sits in the White House during this moment of crisis. The Oval Office, center of American power, where decisions that will reshape the world are about to be made. Imagine Donald Trump addressing the nation, his unique communication style replacing Roosevelt's measured tones with something far more direct. Congress gathers to hear the declaration of war, but the words they hear are unlike any speech in American history. Across America, families crowd around radios, desperate for news, for leadership, for direction in this darkest hour. The headlines scream war, and the nation begins its transformation from peace to the greatest mobilization ever seen. American industry pivots overnight, as factories that made cars begin producing the weapons of war. Tank after tank rolls off Detroit assembly lines, the arsenal of democracy roaring to life with unprecedented speed. Women join the workforce in massive numbers, building the aircraft that will dominate the skies of two theaters. Liberty ships slide into the ocean at incredible pace, each one carrying supplies for a global war effort. In the war room, generals gather to plan strategy, but the man making final decisions has a very different worldview. Military brass study maps and logistics, preparing campaigns across two oceans and multiple continents simultaneously. The special relationship with Britain faces its first test as Churchill arrives seeking American commitment to Europe first. Churchill's diplomatic skills are tested like never before as he negotiates with a president who sees alliances as transactions. Meanwhile, Stalin waits in Moscow, wondering if American aid will flow to the embattled Soviet Union fighting Germany. The Eastern Front bleeds as Soviet soldiers face the Nazi war machine in the frozen hell of Russian winter. The Red Army fights desperately, but will they receive the support they need from their capitalist American allies? Eventually, German forces begin their long retreat, but the alliance that made this possible hangs by a thread. In the Pacific, American focus intensifies as soldiers board ships heading toward island battlefields across the ocean. The first wave hits tropical beaches as the island hopping campaign begins its bloody march toward Japan. Island after island falls to American forces, each victory purchased with the blood of young Marines and soldiers. Jungle warfare tests American resolve as every advance is contested by determined Japanese defenders willing to fight to death. American naval power dominates the Pacific as carriers launch wave after wave of aircraft against enemy positions. B-29s soar over the Pacific, bringing destruction to Japanese military targets across the empire. General MacArthur becomes Trump's favorite commander, his bold personality matching the president's appetite for dramatic victories. MacArthur's return to the Philippines becomes a media spectacle, the general waiting ashore as cameras capture the moment. Meanwhile in Europe, Allied forces mass in England, preparing for the most ambitious amphibious invasion in history. Operation Overlord launches as thousands of ships cross the English Channel carrying the hopes of free nations. D-Day arrives, but the timing and execution differ from history as Trump's impatience influences the invasion plans. American soldiers storm Omaha Beach, facing withering fire in a battle that will determine Europe's fate. Under cover of darkness, paratroopers drop behind German lines, beginning the liberation of occupied France. Tank divisions push inland, exploiting the beachhead as German defenses begin their inevitable collapse. Paris celebrates liberation as American troops roll through streets lined with grateful French citizens waving flags. Back home, the American home front works around the clock to supply two massive military campaigns simultaneously. Rosie the Riveter becomes an icon as women prove they can build bombers and battleships as well as any man. Victory gardens spring up in backyards across America as citizens do their part to support the war effort. Rationing becomes a way of life, with stamps controlling access to sugar, meat, gasoline, and countless other goods. Children collect scrap metal for recycling, every household contributing materials for the vast military machine. War bond posters blanket America, but the sales campaigns take on new intensity under Trump's business-minded approach. Massive rallies sell bonds as Trump treats war financing like a grand marketing campaign, breaking all previous records. Hollywood stars join the effort, their celebrity harnessed for maximum impact in unprecedented ways. But not all Americans share equally in the war effort as Japanese-American families face forced removal from homes. Internment camps imprison American citizens based solely on ancestry, a dark chapter that might be even harsher under Trump. Guard towers and barbed wire surround American citizens, liberty sacrificed in the name of wartime security. German and Italian Americans also face increased surveillance, suspicion falling on anyone with enemy heritage. The press corps gathers daily as Trump's confrontational media strategy creates a constant stream of news and controversy. Newspapers work overtime covering a president who treats war coverage like a running commentary on his performance. Radio broadcasts bring the war into living rooms, but the tone is more aggressive, more personal than history remembers. Propaganda warns of spies and saboteurs, the language harsher, the suspicion deeper in this alternate timeline. Air raid drills become routine as American cities prepare for attacks that thankfully will never come. Families gather for meager Thanksgiving dinners, grateful for what they have despite rationing and sacrifice. Gold Star mothers mourn sons who will never return. Their sacrifice the same regardless of who leads the nation. Wounded veterans come home to parades and praise, heroes of a conflict that has tested America to its limits. In the New Mexico desert, scientists work in absolute secrecy on a weapon that will change warfare forever. Los Alamos becomes home to the greatest minds in physics, racing to unlock the power of the atom. Experiment after experiment brings them closer to a weapon of unimaginable destructive power. Trinity test lights up the desert night, proving that humanity has learned to split the atom for war. The Enola Gay is loaded with Little Boy, a single bomb that will demonstrate the new atomic age. Hiroshima disappears in an instant, 70,000 souls vaporized as the atomic age begins in horror. Nagasaki follows 3 days later, a second city destroyed to force Japan's surrender. The devastation is total, but under Trump, hesitation about nuclear weapons might lead to even more bombings. Emperor Hirohito's recorded voice announces surrender, his nation broken by conventional and atomic warfare. Aboard the USS Missouri, Japanese officials sign surrender documents, ending the greatest war in human history. Victory celebrations explode across America as news of Japan's surrender spreads from coast to coast. Times Square erupts in joy, sailors kissing nurses in photographs that will define victory for generations. Tearful reunions multiply as soldiers finally return to families who feared they might never see them again. New York hosts the greatest ticker tape parade ever seen, celebrating warriors who saved the world from tyranny. Memorials rise across America, honoring the 400,000 who gave their lives for victory. In San Francisco, delegates gather to create the United Nations, but will this vision survive Trump's skepticism of international institutions? The UN Charter is signed, though in this timeline, American commitment to multilateral cooperation might be far weaker. Europe lies in ruins, millions dead, cities destroyed, an entire continent needing to be rebuilt from ashes. Berlin represents the total devastation, once proud capital reduced to rubble and occupied by conquering armies. Millions of refugees wander a shattered continent, seeking homes that no longer exist, families torn apart by war. The Marshall Plan in our timeline rebuilt Europe, but Trump's version might demand far more in return for aid. American trucks deliver supplies, but the generosity is transactional, calculated to benefit American interests directly. European factories rise again, but American corporations secure preferential access to markets as payment for assistance. The Iron Curtain descends as Soviet and Western spheres divide Europe into armed camps for the next 40 years. NATO forms to contain Soviet expansion, though its structure might look different under a less multilateral American approach. American bases dot the European landscape, military presence justified by security but also serving economic interests. The Berlin Wall symbolizes a divided world, but the Cold War architecture might be more bilateral and less institutional. International diplomacy becomes a series of deals, each agreement negotiated for maximum American advantage. Trade pacts replace the broader vision of international cooperation, a more naked pursuit of national interest. Cold War tensions build as the world divides into competing blocs, but institutional buffers might be weaker. Nuclear arsenals grow on both sides, and Trump's casual attitude toward atomic weapons creates a more dangerous world. History flows from that divergence point, creating a world familiar yet fundamentally different from our own. The modern world still bears the imprint of World War II, but the details matter, and different choices create different outcomes. In the end, we're left with a profound truth. Leadership matters, and the choices of individuals in crisis shape the future of millions.